on the side. First, reduce your speed. Second, change lanes if possible. Third, proceed with caution. These 3 simple steps can be the difference between life and death.
What if it's you that's on the side of the road? Do you want everybody to move over for you?
Do the right thing. Slow down, move over, and drive like your life and their life depends on it.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone this morning, Caitlin Mellendorf, is the nutrition educator for the University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties. Good morning, Caitlin. How are you today?
I'm always so pleased when you get my counties right on the first try.
Hey, you know what? I even made sure when we were scheduling, I even made sure that I separated because I had the folks from Extension in Logan, Menard, and Sangamon County on this week. So I had to make sure that I separated out, you know, got us a day or two away from the last time I talked to those folks. Plus, it was in my mind. I was telling you, you know, we work ourselves up into certain scenarios and, you know, kind of like things come to fruition that we think about. I just focused on it today. I said, you know what? I'm not going to get the counties wrong. So anyways, Caitlin, we appreciate you making time for us as always, and great stuff to dive into today because, you know, as we hit the later part of June, we're starting to see things like those fruits and vegetables are coming up. We've had some raspberry bushes in our backyard the last couple of years. They are just exploding right now. I anticipate things like tomatoes, jalapenos, onions, peppers, you know, all those green beans, all those things we've got in the garden. I venture a guess those are going to start to explode on the scene here in the next week or two. But let's start with something I think is a great talking point, and cookouts and picnics, and, you know, maybe busting some myths that we might have around those things. Let's start there today, Caitlin.
Yeah, so you're spot on. We're finally into summer. We finally got some heat, and so I wanted to talk about, for folks that are going to be doing more outdoor cooking, they're going to be spending more time outdoors. Maybe they're packing food with them. And I wanted to talk about some of these myths that we hear a lot about some of these outdoor food things. So the first one that I'm going to start with is mayo. So mayo, we have probably heard stories of, oh, I think that potato salad sat out too long and I got sick from it, or something else that contained mayonnaise that later on you're like, oh, I feel kind of sick, and so I wonder if it was the mayo. And I like busting this one because it's not usually the mayo. So commercially made mayo is going to be food safe in terms of it has vinegar in it. Some recipes might have a little bit of sugar in it, and these are things that deter bacteria from growing. So vinegar makes it more acidic, and bacteria just don't like acidic environments very much. The sugar tends to draw water in from the bacteria. So again, they're not going to enjoy a high sugar environment, but some of the ingredients that we see with things like potato salad, pasta salad, chicken salad, maybe egg salad, where we're mixing in mayo, it might actually be some of the other ingredients in those salads that are actually our culprit for food safety problems. So for things like bacteria that can grow, what they like are carbohydrates and protein. So if you are doing potato salad or pasta salad, those are great sources of carbs. If you're doing egg salad or chicken salad, those are great sources of protein. And those might actually be your culprit. Where your chicken and your eggs, were those cooked to safe temperatures? Were your potatoes and pasta, were those cooled fast enough to basically being cooled? We've talked about, 4 steps of food safety. Cooling is one of those. Were those carbohydrate-containing foods cooled fast enough where bacteria are not growing in them? So it's not as maybe exciting to go, oh, it was the mayo. Actually, it may have been some other things. So I want to throw that out for food for thought. So
yeah.
I'm going to pause and What you think?
Well, I don't know what else could cause us to, whether it's just an upset tummy, whether it's maybe some sort of a short 12, 24-hour ailment. What else in our picnics or cookouts, what else could cause that? I think of things like undercooked meat. I think of maybe we didn't cook things, something else all the way through. Maybe vegetables or something like that are bad. What else could cause those issues then, Caitlin?
Yeah, so a lot of times it's that undercooking, or sometimes it's the cooling. So if you're going to make chicken salad or egg salad or pasta salad, potato salad, typically we're going to be cooking those hot, and we're going to be cooling them. And depending on how much you're making, you may have some hot and cold spots in your food in the container while you're refrigerating it. And so that is a great temperature range for a lot of different types of bacteria, that they just like to grow in warmer environments. They like to grow in foods that contain carbohydrates and protein. And then a little bit of that can also be outdoor picnic, mid-June, mid-July, mid-August temperatures, where just being outdoor above 80 degrees, 90 degrees some days, that's going to increase the temperature of those foods while they're sitting outside while everyone's eating. And bacteria grow a whole lot faster above 70 degrees. And so for most of us, that's about, room temperature. It might be, 72, 76 degrees Fahrenheit. Once you get into that 80, 85, 90 degree temperatures, those bacteria love that. And so inside those typical foods that we might take to a cookout, like pasta salad, potato salad, those bacteria are going to enjoy that warmer temperature, and they're just going to love multiplying. So that's there. And then we've talked about this with grilling, especially, is hand washing availability. So when you're outdoors at a picnic, do you have access to a sink where you can wash your hands before you eat, or maybe some sanitizing gel that you have access to clean off those hands? So lots of things to consider that we may not, when we're thinking about, we're going to go to the pool and we're going to go enjoy a picnic and all these things. We also have to throw food safety in the mix, of course.
Sure. Again, Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator for the U of I Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties. Now, Caitlin, I wonder about this. You talk about picnicking and busting some of those myths. I think of folks are maybe that you talked about. Maybe they're going to the lake. Maybe they're going to the park, or they're going to have an outing or something of that nature. What are some good like neutral foods where we don't have to necessarily worry about making sure that the cooking temperature is all the way through, or we don't have to worry about cross-contamination, washing hands, things like that? What are some neutral foods we could maybe prepare for that day on the boat, or that day on the, maybe at the beach? There's some small beaches around Central Illinois. Folks go to hang out for a day or whatnot. What are some neutral foods where we don't have to worry about those things? What kind of advice do you have for us there?
Sure. So you're definitely looking for shelf-stable food items. So that could be things like prepackaged items. So that could be bags of chips or pretzels, peanut butter, nuts, trail mix is a great one. So dried fruit with, combinations of maybe popcorn or cereal, or chocolate. Chips might be okay if it's not too hot, because those are going to melt. But you're going to look for those shelf-stable foods. You can also look for things that are already pre-packed in individual items. So you could do even like applesauce cups that are contained inside of that little cup. You could also look for, if you've got a cooler, you can also just look at doing some pre-purchased sandwiches or cold drinks. You can just have lots and lots of ice packs if that's an option for you, or just regular ice to keep everybody cool and hydrated. So especially if you're going to go out on the lake, we could certainly talk about making sure everyone's well hydrated. So water, of course, but also maybe you want to look at having some sports drinks or some electrolyte drinks to keep everybody hydrated while you're outside. But yeah, it's going to be kind of a mix. You can try the shelf-stable food items to kind of get you through. But if you've got access to a cooler, you might just want to stock up on some pre-made things, maybe from a deli that's at a gas station or a grocery store as you're going to the lake.
Very good stuff there, Caitlin, for sure. Anything else on that before we kind of move along here for this morning?
The other thing I want to touch on with myth busting, because we've had conversations about grilling over the years, and I think this is an interesting one. So for what we at Illinois Extension recommend is always bring yourself a food thermometer if you are working with meat.
Mm-hmm.
So bring that food thermometer, make sure it's calibrated, it's reading correctly, but always use that to really make sure that the meat is at the correct temperature. There's often a good color change. So for example, a steak goes from a kind of a red, kind of purple color to more of a brown color as you cook it. But sometimes just the pigments that make up a meat protein don't always change as quickly. And so they might look done, but they're not actually done, or kind of vice versa. They are still pink, but they're actually cooked appropriately. So that's where the thermometer comes into play. But I've seen this recommendation of you have to use the heel of your hand right under your thumb, and it's based on how many fingers you're touching. Kind of you touch a finger to your thumb, and then you push into the flesh on your wrist under your thumb. And depending on how firm that is supposed to be how well cooked or uncooked different meats are. This one has a couple of concerns for me. Just one, that the pressure of your meat is not a good test of temperature and doneness. So I still recommend that food thermometer. There's also possible for cross-contamination if your fingers are not clean or they've touched raw meat recently and you're now pushing into a possibly done steak. You could be contaminating your steak. Also, steaks and other meats get really hot, and so I don't want anyone to burn themselves trying to do this kind of touch test. So three reasons I would say don't do that. Just bring out a meat thermometer with you.
I'm so glad you said that. I cannot tell you how many times I've been burned by that, literally and figuratively. By it's like, oh, this burger looks done, or this steak looks done, or this whatever looks done, and then I cut it open, or the chicken. Like, chicken is the toughest. Chicken is the worst. But it's like you cut into it, and it's like, oh, okay, I need to go throw this on the grill. And by that time, you've closed the grill up and it's starting to cool off and all of that stuff. So I can't tell you how many times that one has impacted me. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Let's wrap up this segment, Caitlin. Sun tea. What are some myths around sun tea?
So sun tea, it's kind of the name implies, is you're making tea, and it's more like an iced tea, sort of. So it's just filling up your container, adding your tea, and putting it in usually a shady window, or you could do it outside in the sunlight. And the warmth of the sun is supposed to kind of heat up the tea, infuse the tea flavors into the water, and then you get to drink on it. You can drink it, at that kind of warmer temperature, or you could add ice to it and have iced tea later. And this is something we still see people do, but you may not be familiar that actually there is a bacteria, which is in, of course, like most things in science, it's got Latin roots, so I'm going to butcher it if I try to say it. But there is a bacteria that's been identified in some of these sun teas. And what it does is it kind of gets like a syrupy kind of appearance with this type of bacteria as it starts to grow. And so that's, not great. We don't want to be drinking teas that may have bacteria growing in it. So we still recommend bring that water to a boil first before you do your tea. Having sun tea is it's a really fun kind of old school way to make iced tea. But if we're not killing off the bacteria that's associated with that tea, we may make ourselves sick. And of course, that's no fun during the summer months.
Very good. So keep that in mind. Caitlin, where do folks go for, I don't know if you've got tips like this on the website or just other kind of general, summer cookout and picnic, tips and recipes or whatnot? Where do folks go for some of those things?
Yeah, so we've got our it's kind of old. We're working on giving it a new face, making it look pretty. We've got our old meat safety website, which has tips on grilling, on taking food temperatures. And then we've got different blogs on some of these food safety topics. So I'm looking at one from a colleague of mine. She is talking about sun tea. So a lot of my talking points today are from her. So you can always check out our written materials on our website at extension.illinois.edu.
Very good. Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator for the University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties. Our guest on the phone. More to come with Caitlin on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Our new 19,000 square foot building at 205 East Washington Street across from Ace Hardware means bigger savings for you. Owner Dave Jackson here from your Clinton Save-A-Lot. With our new building comes bigger selection of meat, produce, dairy, and the items you buy every day at savings of up to 40% or more. Come and see what the buzz is all about by shopping our new location of your Clinton Save-A-Lot at 205 East Washington Street for even bigger savings every day. Hope to see you soon.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. More than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Let's swing open the farm gate together every day on WHOW. I'm Stu Ellis, your host of the long-running agriculture feature called The Farm Gate. I bring the latest news and information on where agriculture is and where it's going to WHOW Ag listeners several times a day. From tariffs to treaties, from the Board of Trade to the running board on your truck, I cover Central Illinois agriculture every day on the Farm Gate. Hear it all on WHOW's many platforms on the radio or online. Join me, Stu Ellis, for the Farm Gate.
Hey, this is Todd Gleason from Illinois Extension here with a time change for our daily market report on WHOW. You can now catch our daily review of the commodity markets at 5:06 on all of WHOW's many platforms. You'll still hear all of our commodity analysts and weather professionals each afternoon, but at a brand new time. And you'll still hear the weekly wrap-up of the commodity markets right here on WHOW when Commodity Week airs Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. Remember the time change for the daily closing market report on WHOW at our new time, 5:06 p.m. weekdays.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Again, Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator, University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties. Caitlin, let's talk a little bit about those fruits and vegetables that are starting to come into season. I don't know if I mentioned this on the air yet or not, but we've got a raspberry bush that's in our backyard that is just absolutely exploding. My kids can't keep up with it. It's just producing so fast. What's in season right now? What are we seeing?
I know around me, we've got lots of places that are offering you pick for berries. So strawberries have kind of run their course. So June is about kind of right now, it's kind of the ending point for a lot of those strawberry farms. Now they're starting to get into blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries. So in terms of fruit, we're starting to see some of those really good berries coming into season for the summer in Illinois. In terms of crops, we're kind of done with those early spring crops. So radishes are kind of done because those are more cold weather. Lettuces are kind of done. Spinach is kind of done. But you're going to start seeing more of those hardier greens coming in. So things like kale are going to be popping in. Green onions are going to be popping in. I am trying to think of all the different things that I have been seeing lately. I think you had some on your garden. What's coming in on your garden right now?
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, a friend of mine and we share a garden. He lives out in the country here outside of Clinton, and I haven't even touched base with him in the last couple of days to find out how it's doing. And it's been so dry. Like, I'm kind of curious what if folks that maybe they don't have the resources to water, or that's just not something they want to do, if how their garden is actually faring in this kind of in this environment. So I need to touch base. I was actually thinking about that in the break. I'm going to touch base with him here today and see if he needs help with anything, and if how that garden is doing. But I would suspect we're probably getting close to those tomatoes coming in. Usually right after the 4th of July, we start to see those pop up. And, jalapenos, if I'm not mistaken, they love the warm weather as well. So hopefully it's doing well.
Yeah, and I'm not the garden expert, so we got to send you to other people in Extension that can give you more details than I can on gardens. But my understanding is right now we're in berry season. It's like you said, it's a little bit too early for tomatoes. We're waiting on some of that really hot weather for some of those crops that just love that heat. So definitely with berries, and I think that's such a good addition. I know my big thing lately for breakfast has been overnight oats. And so being able to pop some fresh berries on top of that in the morning is just a nice summer treat, because I am someone, I almost prefer my overnight oats to be reheated. So I kind of like that warm, cold texture. So I've got that cold fruit, then I've got these hot oats going on. And to me, that's just a nice breakfast combo. But in the summer, when it is more hot, I'll eat everything cold because that just feels nice.
Sure.
And knowing that the heat of the day is coming, I'll start off with something cold.
Caitlin, let's wrap up. We've got about a minute and a half here. Let's wrap up with just hydration. Like you said, we're waiting on those hot summer days. It feels like we've had a few of them, not to the extent we're accustomed to. I'm sure they're on their way. But how about just staying hydrated in this hot summer time? How about that?
Yeah, so a reminder that your thirst mechanism is not a great source of telling if you're hydrated or not. Typically, when you notice like, oh, I'm really thirsty, you're pretty dehydrated. So do make sure that you're sipping on water throughout the day. If you're not a fan of just plain water, you can do a lot of different things, such as adding in berries to your water since those are in season, or citrus if you want to go that route, or if you want to buy a water flavoring, like there's some different liquid and powder options. If that helps you drink more water, go for it. And so make sure that you're hydrating enough that as you are going to the bathroom, look at the toilet bowl. I know not everybody likes that, but take a look. Is your urine a light yellow color? If it's a darker color or even kind of brown in color, make sure you start adding in more liquid throughout the day. You can also be just more gentle on your tummy to drink it in smaller portions throughout the day. So don't try to jug like half a gallon of water all at once. You're probably not going to feel great.
Sure.
So keep hydrated this summer.
Very good. Well, Caitlin, always good to talk to you. Thanks for making time for us. Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator, U of I Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties.
WHOW.